Hi, my name is Gabriel Bangoura, and I worked on the effects of electricity on plant growth. So, a little bit of background on this project. Climate change recently has led to a steep decline in plant growth over the past few decades. This has resulted in a reduction of growth rates by about 59% in vegetated areas worldwide, and water and nutrient availability and the ability to finance expensive technologies um, will essentially limit um, the ability to reduce the impact of this decrease in growth over time. So we need low cost and creative solutions to increase plant growth. So multiple, um, essentially, my project is working on how electrical stimulation could be used to solve this problem. So multiple methods of electrical stimulation have been shown in recent experiments to have varying effects on plant growth. Specifically, before the plants are fully sprouted, um, evidence has suggested that electrical stimulation at the seed stage can increase growth, and there have been various studies on varying effects after plants have grown and the effect of electricity on their growth then. So previous studies have yet to fully explore how it can affect both before and after. So that's what I'm looking at in this project. So my methods are the following: 36 radish seeds were electrified at 15 volts per centimeter for approximately 15 minutes. This was a method that I received from a study that I had looked at. Specifically, it takes pulse electric fields and it kind of puts the seeds in an electric field for about 15 minutes at varying levels of electricity. I modified it. So instead of pulse electric fields, it's just a constant electric field. And so I electrified the seeds for 15 minutes, similar to the experiment. And then um, I planted those seeds in the treated group. And then I also had a control group, which was grown without any treatment at all. So after maturation, I took the stock height of the radishes, and then also the weight of a cross section of the radish, and then I used calorimetry to measure the calories to see if electricity had any kind of effect on the calories of the plants, which was suggested in another paper that I had read by Ahmed et al. And then also whether it had any effect on the growth rate at any point, both the germination time, which is how long it takes to sprout, and then also how long it takes to grow and mature fully into a plant. Um, so results showed that the so for plants treated with electricity, um, they initially outgrew the plants that were untreated, and this is likely due to that seed phase electrification that was mentioned in the Karts paper, which showed that plants treated with this electric field would initially germinate faster. And then initially after that, with the actual in soil electrification, the treated plants were on average 199% taller than the untreated plant group. Um, but on the 24th day, that trend reversed because the treated group began to underperform the untreated group with result in regards to maturing into an actual fully grown radish plant. Um, Germination rates, as I mentioned, um, are also important. There was really no significant difference in the germination rates between the two groups. Um, and so that was expected. A couple of seeds were lost in the treated group, and so therefore germination rate, the amount of seeds that sprouted, really was not a significant finding in this study. And here on the right, you can see the graph of the average untreated height and treated height. And so in the red, the untreated height was initially underperforming, but then as time went on, it began to outperform the treated group with electricity, both in the seed phase and then also when it was growing. So here's a continuation of my results. Um, so this shows the calorie count compared to the mass of each radish sample. So the average calorie count of each radish was about 0.98 calories per gram. that's above the expected value for the amount of calories that a radish would have. Typically, a radish has about close to zero. It's rounded to zero. It's not actually zero calories. And so these results suggest that really that the radishes grew well, grew fine, and some of the issues with the data could be due to issues with calorimetry. But essentially, only the untreated group actually developed into a radish. So the group treated with electricity in the seed phase, it grew initially faster, but the actual growth and maturation of the plant into a radish was stunted. So calorimetry was only able to be performed on the untreated group, and I'll explain this in my discussion. So this experiment's results partially support the hypothesis that electrical stimulation, and specifically the modified pulse electric treatment of the seeds in the treated group worked. And so generally it supports that, but the calorimetry data does not support the fact that electricity is helpful for plants to be for plants after initial germination. So essentially, there's various reasons for this. One of the papers basically hypothesizes that the electricity coming from any kind of source is damaging to the hyperpolarization of the membrane of the cell. And so, therefore, that eventually affects through potassium the uptake of water of the plant. So, when there's enough water to be taken up because of the electricity negatively affecting the plant's ability to do that, then the plant cannot actually grow. And so, essentially, this is consistent with some of the results of the other experiments, which suggest damage to plants over 1 volt per centimeter. And this is very important because of the fact that around farm environments, there's typically something called stray voltage. So it's been observed that levels as high as 30 volts per centimeter and as low as 1 volt per centimeter can be in these environments. And just for reference, like 6 volts per centimeter, which I tested, is about the power of 2 AA batteries. So essentially, this stray voltage, which results from misconnected wires or from power lines, is essentially coursing through the ground, and it causes damage in livestock, but it hasn't really been studied in plants. And so this project shows essentially that even low levels of electricity, which is very common on farms, actually has a very negative effect on growth, such that it might actually completely stunt the growth of some produce. So this is important to recognize. As I mentioned in my initial goals, this is the initial part of the project is helpful because electricity is shown in the first part to actually likely increase the germination speed of plants, so the ability to help them grow faster. But electricity is actually very detrimental after the plant has sprouted. So, yes, that is my discussion, and these are some of the sources I use as my background information. Thank you.